Welcome to the 10th freaking episode of the BOBCAST.
No, 10.
Yeah.
It's two numbers in one.
Yeah, double digits. Here it is. I'm Bob.
I'm Grace.
And today, we're going to talk about one of the sort of classic, D&D classes. Classic class. The Rogue.
Also known as the Rouge.
Yeah, because everybody spells it wrong all the time. I was actually thinking about, if I ever do a video just about rogues, I need to make a joke about that somewhere. And so this kind of came about because the supplement for this month here on Patreon, I guess I don't want to get too much into that now, but it's like a quest that I made for a homebrew campaign in which the gang ended up kind of performing a little heist. This is when you guys were stealing that tiara.
I remember doing it.
Right. I'm pretty sure you led the plan. And This
Yeah.
was kind of because Grace was playing a very roguish character at the time.
She was a rogue.
Yeah. Was she full rogue at this point? Because I know you
No,
multi-classed.
she had warlocked by then. But
Nice.
yeah.
Yeah. And so this character is also the NPC included in the pack this month. So why don't you tell us a little bit about your rogue?
So the NPC is my own original character, Fortune Faceseeker. She is the daughter of the head of a cult called the Cult of the False Coin. They're called that because they are followers of Glacia, who is the archdevil, who is known for counterfeiting a bunch of money and then pissing off some other demon lord. But anyway, she's a direct descendant of this devil. So she ran away from this cult because she was kind of I don't want to do this anymore. So she just ran away. She was 19 when the campaign started, so she was still pretty flighty teenager. And then she met her BFF Varys, hired him as a guide to take her somewhere because she wanted to meet LaRue because she had a book of fairy stories that featured her.
Yeah.
And then that is who her warlock patron became.
Yeah,
so.
that ended up driving the campaign, really, because with it being a homebrew campaign, I was super ready to just, have it based on what you guys came up with, and you gave me the most, full backstory stuff to work with, so ended up being a lot about LaRue. That recently came up in a Candlekeep video, and might come up in another Candlekeep video soon. Well, so playing a rogue, what was that like for you? Was that your first rogue that you ever played?
It was my first rogue. It was also my first warlock.
Hmm.
But now I'm why would you ever play something that's not dex-based now?
Yeah.
Dex goes into your AC and your attack modifier. So it's why even strong?
Well, yeah. I can say here, not actually a rogue, but very much like a rogue. A character that I played for a while was a shadow monk named Dukerig, a wood elf shadow monk. And yeah, that too is a pretty much dex-based class. You can argue that monk is also you want to have good wisdom. But for a rogue, it's really one of these classes, to really just talk about statistics here for a minute, you can totally just go all dex and be really, really good.
Yeah, I've never heard or even thought about a strength-based rogue.
Oh, no. I think that would just not work out well.
Your roguish skills just wouldn't be...
Yeah, you're really set up.
Like everything else in D&D, it depends on what you want to play and who you want to be. But if you want that real sneaky feel, you have to be dex-based.
Yeah, I think the weapons they're proficient in, I don't know if there's any real strength-based stuff there. I guess they have a few finesse things.
Any
so
finesse weapon can also be strength.
Yeah. Yeah, so I guess you can still sneak attack with strength stuff then.
Yeah, as long as it is a finesse weapon, theoretically, you can still use your strength and finesse it.
Yeah, which just makes me think of some of the anime we've been watching recently, where they'll be quote unquote sneaking up on somebody, but then just scream something as they're attacking.
Brilliant palm attack! Yeah! And then take like 20 seconds to descend slowly so that they can think about the move that they're about to do.
Exactly. And that's what I imagine a strength-based sneak attack is like.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and being in like that sneaky monk, that was super fun. I've also played a halfling rogue. It's a very traditional, called Ori Underbrush, which I had to really like conjure up the last name. I couldn't remember it for a minute here while I was kind of prepping for this.
You played that in like Original Frog Cave, right?
Original Frog Cave, and yeah, that was when we were playing like 3 or 3.5.
It was 3rd edition.
Yeah.
No 0.5, only 3.
3.0.
Yeah.
Yeah. Barrow of the... What was it?
I don't even remember.
Yeah, it was like a big dungeon. That was most of what I remember from that campaign.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was a lot of fun, and I was really good. Rogues they're just so good at killing, so as long as you have the right conditions, I suppose.
Yeah.
And so for D&D being a combat game, like, it's really pretty sweet.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of right conditions, though, also not a rogue, but Sariel Silveroon, my ranger.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
It's just invisible all the time.
So yeah, this is Grace's Gloomstalker Ranger in Icewind Dale. So because it's pretty much dark all the time, she's basically just invisible all the time.
And I've been thinking about adding a level of rogue just for
just
constant sneak attack.
Yeah, I mean, and you're dex based too, because you actually use a bow as a ranger instead of trying to like dual wield some whatever. Yeah, so rogues just make really effective characters. I imagine that's one of the reasons why they've been so popular over time. Not only does everybody, to get into maybe a little bit of the stereotypes of rogues here for a sec, a lot of first characters, I think, are that literal, like, lone wolf. I associate the word rogue, like, with being solo, like, going rogue. Is that actually, like, a definition of the word rogue? I don't know. But
yeah, everyone wants to be some type of archetype, usually. I mean, I don't think I've ever played with anyone who is like, yeah, I want my first character to be a Pact of the Chain warlock celestial. No. Even...
That's after you've read a few books.
All the books.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's totally an archetype of fantasy, right? Your thief, as opposed to your, like, mage and warrior type characters. I imagine this as coming right from, like, I mean, the reason I think Halfling Rogue is so iconic is just because of The Hobbit, right? Gandalf's like, hey, need a burglar, right? And that's, it was called a thief in D&D for a long time before Rogue. I think that was only in maybe 3rd edition, maybe 2nd. I don't really know. But yeah, so that like Halfling Rogue is just straight out of what a lot of other things from D&D come out of, Tolkien stuff. At least that's my perspective as a fan of that book.
Yeah, standard fantasy stuff.
Yeah. And so, I mean, in another like kind of standard fantasy, I don't know if that's actually the right word, but like character that I thought of here was actually Conan the Barbarian, which I've been listening to some audiobooks of lately, which, yeah, very deceiving, right? Conan the Barbarian, but actually he's very, very sneaky and like cunning. I think that's like a huge underrated part of these stories, or at least what is remembered. I've never seen any of like the actual movies with Arnold, but I imagine that is kind of where the like big burly barbarian imagining comes from. Whereas, yeah, he was actually very roguish.
Yeah, I mean, in D&D, like, your barbarian is not going to be wearing armor, so he's not going to have disadvantage to stealth.
Yeah, I mean, and that's true. I mean, but at the same time, I've, like, wanted to play a dex-based barbarian before, but there's a lot of things that are just like, no, you kind of need to do strength, like, to really get the most out of your barbarian.
You can't do a finesse weapon as a barbarian.
And I think you just get strength bonuses to stuff. And another character I wrote down here, just to keep dipping into some pop culture rogues for a second, maybe test your memory, because I don't remember a whole lot about TV shows that I watch. But Arya Stark was somebody that I came across while like trying to research roguish stuff.
Yeah, I mean, she literally like went to a monastery, temple of death, or whatever.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly what it was. The faces thing,
assassination techniques. Why isn't there a rogue that is like a face wearing? Like that should be a thing. I feel like someone must have made homebrew of it, but that'd be really cool.
Yeah. I mean, I guess you could argue that could be some like arcane trickstery, like illusion stuff. I don't really know how it actually worked in that series.
Yeah,
it was kind of like a weird quasi magic.
Yeah, they never really described exactly what it was she was doing.
But that made it cool.
And, like how she got these faces.
Right.
She definitely gets real edgy.
Well, right. Yeah. That's the point.
Yeah.
Is that like she kind of had that reason to be edgy, whether it was dead parents or what have you, and then literally was like a little street urchin, whatever, making her way downtown, ends up being taken in by these people who are like, train her to be an assassin. Like it was just total D&D character rogue backstory.
Yeah.
Which I hadn't thought about until earlier today.
Now let me see if I can think of one.
Do you want me to talk while you're thinking?
How about Geralt of Rivia? Is he a rogue?
A rogue? Oof.
I mean, he's more of a ranger, actually.
But the thing is, I do feel like there's a lot of overlap between rangers and rogues. Because, go ahead.
Obviously there is. I mean, it might be depending on if you're thinking of Netflix series Geralt, book series Geralt.
Is more roguish?
Or video game Geralt.
Oh. Well, I feel like video game Geralt's got to just be like a fighter or something, right? Because he's just slaying stuff
basically.
nonstop.
I mean, there's no stealth like button.
Okay.
You can't sneak.
You can't stealth squat.
Yeah.
And sneak around.
In the books, I think the books maybe play up his. You know what? No, he's a dumbass in the books too. I guess the show is the one where he's more cunning, I guess.
I mean, but here's another thing. So the other character that I was going to name, and actually I did just kind of think of another one. The other like main character that I think is kind of roguish is like Robin Hood, who you might think is like very...
He's the rogue.
But is he also like the ranger?
Yeah, okay. So he's a multi-class.
Yeah. But that's why I also think, because like, okay, rogue, like the actual archetype, I feel like of fantasy is the thief, right? They are sneaky, they pickpocket stuff, maybe disarm traps, and they're kind of just like deceptive with their, fast talking, whatever. But it's also really evolved into, and also like has heavily leans on this idea of the scout, right? So that's where I think Robin Hood kind of comes in, because not only is he totally dex base, but he is more, I don't know, he's almost more like bardish, because he's so cocky. But
I've never read the original Robin Hood story. When I think of Robin Hood, I think of the Fox one.
Oh, yeah? Well, I mean, I mostly think of Robin Hood Man in Tights, which is probably not the best example. But I did read the original stories several years ago. Well, the ones that stuck with me from the book are the ones I'd already heard, where he's like splitting the arrow and doing all this gotcha, Sheriff of Nottingham.
Yeah, I mean, he's pretty sneaky with the whole disguising himself thing. But then he just rips off his disguise in public.
I mean, because part of his thing is just like, I'm Robin Hood.
Is Robin Hood a himbo?
Because he's a man of the people. I don't know what that means. Yeah. And so, I mean, that's like a character I kind of want to play.
Yeah,
because Robin Hood for me
based guy.
Yeah, I mean, Robin Hood is like part of why I'm into medieval fantasy stuff.
Yeah, my Not Bob DM has an NPC named Goblin Hood, who is a ghost, but was known for being extremely bloodthirsty.
Yeah,
and hated other goblins. I don't think he was a rogue though.
But anyway, so now the other thing I thought of. That's probably the most popular pop culture roguish character, arguably more like a bard. And also, so many things here. Also tying into why I think rogues are so popular with our generation even, specifically.
Who is it? Don't keep me in suspense.
I'm going to hold it a little longer. So, do you remember, harken back to like our high school days of Hot Topic is cool, And on the internet, what's cool? Like cats, sure, but like ninjas are really popular for some reason, and pirates are really popular because of the iconic movie Pirates of the Caribbean, Jack Sparrow.
Yeah.
Okay?
Well,
So
that's more middle school.
I think, yeah, you're right. That's where it started.
But yes, I hearken that.
So in these days of yore, pirates and ninjas. So not all pirates. Hashtag not all pirates. But Jack Sparrow specifically is like very roguish. Because even though he's also like drunken master,
he's a swashbuckling drunken master.
Yeah, he's sneaky. He's sly. He like just putting his arm around people and being like, hey, just convincing them to like do whatever. So yeah, he's very bard, but he's very like the charismatic rogue, which is also kind of like your rogue warlock.
Yeah. Mastermind.
Yeah. And so in this era of like the two cool things being like pirates and ninjas, both of which can be so well emulated with this class, the rogue. Because ninjas just being the epitome of like stealth, kill, sneaky stuff. Again, at least in pop culture. I don't know a whole lot about like actual historical ninjas. I feel like that lends itself so well to why rogue is like a go-to class for at least so many people today. Whereas I imagine people who maybe are a little older than us and grew up with more like traditional superhero kind of characters being like what's in pop culture, maybe gravitated more toward just like the knight in shining armor, like fighter kind of stuff. But we're all like, no, brooding and like emo phase.
I never had a brooding and emo character though.
That's because you lived it more in real life. You didn't have to have that character.
Yeah, my first character was a naked druid.
Yeah, that's crazy.
With a conveniently placed leaf.
Yeah.
My second character was a seeaboo.
Is that related to a weeaboo somehow?
Yeah, it's because she loves the sea.
Oh, she just loves it. Okay.
Yeah. Loves the sea as much as a weeaboo loves anime.
I don't know what the wee and weeaboo. I don't know what the word weeaboo. Like I know what it means, but I don't know why it means that.
Neither do I.
So replacing half the word with something else didn't help me.
Whatever.
But
everyone else got it but you, so.
Okay, good. Wait, you mean our listeners or everyone?
Yeah.
Okay. You're right. They're all
and when I said
me.
that at a table full of other players that one time when we played Adventurers League, I won a piece of candy for saying that.
That was that was a crazy crowd. We've talked about them before, I think. Oh man, Free RPG Day. I want to go next year. I hope we can game next year at Free RPG Day, or this year. I mean, this summer. Looking forward to it. Anyway, maybe we'll just talk about rogues. So
yeah.
I mean, and again, I don't know. This is kind of like a weird, totally still on mic thing. I want these to become more like freeform. Like, yeah, there's a topic here, but I also think if people are listening to this, they're probably not like mining it for a ton of content, right? Like, that's what my videos are for. Short, to the point, get some sweet tips.
I'm just here to make things worse, so.
But you don't. You make it so much better. Like,
it's just the beginning.
That's why I couldn't do this alone.
Roguish master plan.
Yeah. Anyway, to maybe talk about rogues for a second, like the reason I brought it up, the reason I had the idea to talk about rogues for this episode was because of this lock-picking thing I came up with. So I made these weird rules for it. I guess that's not what this is about. But, like, how do you feel about that? Rogues being, like, a lock-picking... Like, that's their thing, right? Like, that's one of their things.
Yeah.
If there's a rogue in the party comes to a locked door, unless you have somebody who immediately tries to smash it, which is somewhat common, everybody's going to look at the rogue and say, like, all right, do it. Just go, do it.
And then the rogue's like, I don't have thieves' tools.
Yeah, maybe I guess they might not. Like, they're going to be proficient in them, I guess, but they don't have to have them or use them. But I guess it's a good thing lockpicking is based on dex, because at least they'll be pretty good at it, no matter what.
Well, you can't even do it without some kind of tool.
That's true.
Except maybe your rogue is cool, or maybe is like Fortune Face Seeker. And she never really did this, but I imagine she always had a couple bobby pins that she could use to pick a lock.
Definitely. And, I mean, another thing that I think rogues are kind of known for, but this one is always sort of like funny, I feel like, in our games, is they're supposed to be good at like finding or at least disarming traps. And now I feel like we don't use a ton of traps in our games, but this kind of flies in the face of rogues being this super maxed out dex character. Because to find traps, it's either going to be like a perception, which is typically wisdom check, or investigation, yeah, which is typically an intelligence check.
I mean, if you're a arcane trickster, you're going to have high intelligence because that's going to be your casting.
Yeah.
But if not, if you're just a dumb bitch rogue, like, whatever, step on those traps, you'll probably only take half or no damage anyway.
Oh,
so.
yeah, because you can just, like, dodge it really easily or whatever. Maybe
Uncanny
that's part
dodge.
of it. Maybe that's part of why they have all... I mean, I don't know when those features came in. I feel like it's a more recent thing. But the ability to just totally basically take no damage from things that are dex saves. I guess you're really hoping that the trap is going to be dex-based and not just like, okay, you just got stuck with a poison needle, roll a constitution save. Yeah, or like, okay, the ceiling's collapsing on you, strength save. Like, traps are a weird one.
Yeah.
They're hard to design.
They are hard to design. Traps just aren't super fun.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of known to be like an HP tax. Because
Yeah.
most of the time somebody's just gonna get hurt.
Like, what's the point? It's like late Skyrim when you can trigger every single
Oh yeah, and just get whacked.
It gets you like you lose like 5 hit points.
Yeah.
Or the equivalent percentage of
Yeah.
5 hit points. Unless you're making a trap that's going to have long-term consequences.
Right.
We're talking curses,
Yeah.
permanent disfigurement,
Oof.
destroying a really important item that they need.
Yeah, okay.
Don't bother.
All right. Maybe we should save this for the traps episode.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
but yeah, I feel like, because it's making me think of potentially another somewhat roguish character. Indiana Jones? Is he a rogue? He's always evading traps. He's
Yeah, he's cunning.
He's definitely multi-class though, because he's so in your face. Like, I mean, the whip, like, that's pretty roguish to me.
Yeah, I guess he can be a rogue, but he puts things in museums instead of taking them out of the museum.
Yeah, I feel like Robin Hood would just rip
And
stuff out of
he's
museums.
like really adamant, like, that belongs in a museum.
Yeah, whereas
That's his catchphrase.
yeah, that's his thing, and he's like, "Where's my hat?" or something,
And he's
and then
like,
he just goes, "Dun dun dun
snakes,
dun."
gross.
Yeah, snakes, ew.
Ew.
Friggin' snakes.
I want to talk about the stereotypes now. What about that rogue that tries to steal stuff from people all the time?
From the party. Is that what you're saying?
From anyone, really.
Well, I think it's funny when it's from NPCs and stuff.
Unless you are in broad daylight,
Yeah.
public, in the middle of a city with guards around. And your rogue is like, I'm gonna steal from the shop right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, it's amusing. Hopefully they don't go through with it every time. But from a metagame perspective of like the player just bringing that up to the group, like, oh, I could totally probably steal this thing. And then everybody's like, dude, just don't do it, please. Like, that's fun to have that little conversation.
I mean, if your rogue is really good at lying too,
Oh, yeah.
and can come up with a good reason for why his hand is in the shopkeeper's pocket if he gets caught, that's totally fun and hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's like an important part of a rogue being one of the core classes of D&D, and one of these like real main elements of the adventuring party. Think like rogue, caster, healer, fighter, right? And the rogue is there, you know, not only because they're good at these times when you need them to sneak into stuff, but honestly create such humorous situations when they just try to be sneaky for the fun of it in like a totally urban setting or whatever it is, and it just goes awry. Like, I feel like that's where a lot of the fun in our campaigns has come up. When I mean, even if it works really well, then it's just so funny because you just know you've duped somebody. and it's usually the DM who's just like, okay, yeah, you fooled them, even though obviously like they themselves weren't tricked by whatever, because it's all like happening out of game at the same time.
Yeah, I mean, I, as a non-rogue, as a blade singer wizard, lied my way out of being at a crime scene by saying we had been stuck inside the house for days in a secret compartment. The house that we were in, the crime scene house, was up against, like, flush with the wall of the city. So we made a hole in the wall so we could get out of the city because it was under martial law. And then when we came back in, the guards were out front and they were like, hey, how did you get in there? And they were like, and I was just like, oh, just first thing that came to my head was, oh, we've been in here so long. And I rolled a 20.
Right.
Natural 20 to lie. And
that's what I was about to ask.
They took us to the hospital.
Was like, how did he actually handle that? Because, of course, natural 20 on a skill check doesn't actually mean anything. But it's fun to play that way.
It was just like 2 guards and we fooled them.
Sure.
But then, like, other guards came after us later.
Yeah. Because didn't you try it a second time, basically?
I did, because then we were out of the city, and some guards followed us, and were like, you're not supposed to be out of the city right now. And I was like, are we outside the city? I just keep blacking out ever since the incident. And then the captain was like, that might have tricked those 2 other guys, but it won't kick me.
Good. Well handled, Steven the DM. Yeah, I mean, that's some bard stuff. Because then you also probably just need some spells to really trick them.
I mean, all my characters are like that because I'm just really good at coming up with plausible lies on the spot.
Plausible might be a stretch with being stuck in the house or whatever. But plausible enough.
Yeah.
Plausible enough.
Other people would have come up with something much worse than that.
Yeah, or it just would have taken too long.
Yeah.
Just gotta be quick. That's why you're a good party face.
Yeah.
Like I said, that's why, like, your character ended up, like, driving a lot of the campaign, Fortune Face Seeker. Because, like, you were the talker, you had the best backstory stuff worked out, and that helped me a lot.
Strongest.
You were also, like, really well optimized, basically. Yeah, I mean, Grant, like, that was a party of pretty much all new players besides Dan.
Until the end.
Yeah. Yeah. So, if you're going to play a rogue, don't be afraid to try to steal from NPCs. Don't steal from the party,
Don't steal from your party.
Don't steal from the party. That's just kind of silly.
Unless you've discussed it with your party beforehand and one of your players is like, yeah, my character's an idiot. Steal as much as you want from me. It'll be hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, that could be a really fun, like, gimmick
that would
among
be
the
cool.
party.
Like a rogue who's made buddies with a lunk fighter or barbarian or...
And the player's totally on board.
Yeah.
And it's just like, man, is there a hole in my coin purse? Like, yeah. Don't be afraid to play basically Jack Sparrow or basically Robin Hood. Don't be afraid to be Arya Stark and have your family killed by people, and that's why you had to become a street urchin and be an assassin.
Don't be afraid to be a rogue that just talks their way out of everything.
Yeah. Like,
for them, fighting is a last resort. They gotta save their own skin. They talk their way out. Yeah. Every time.
If anything, like, one issue with rogues, well, it's just an issue in 5e, is, like, they're just too strong. Rogue should be as weak as, like, a wizard. So that way you really have to be sneaky, right? Yeah. You really gotta rely on your skills.
Sneaky or witty.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah. So lean into that dex, pick some locks using these cool rules that I'm going to put on Patreon soon.
Try a strength rogue. Let us know how it goes.
Yeah. Test that out. It's probably really bad. It's probably really bad, though.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you can have really high dex and strength.
Maybe you're the type of player who just likes to be really bad.
I want to play a rogue with heavy armor.
Clankiest rogue.
Yeah. That's how you fool everybody. You're just so obvious that everyone's just like, what the heck? And then, like, pays you no mind because you just think you're an idiot.
Or you're just drawing the eyes so the rest of your party can sneak. That's pretty roguish.
Just the decoy.
Yeah.
I love that. Okay. I thought of another rogue character as my mind is being blown right now. Bum. National treasure, Nicolas Cage. No. The ultimate thief.
No.
Yes. You just want to say no because you don't want it to be true. But he's so cunning. He's so witty. And he knows all this stuff about history. Maybe he's an arcane
So
trickster.
cunning that he has to pay $20 to steal.
You remember that lemon trick? Remember the bifocals? Be Nicolas Cage. That's it.
Next, you're going to be saying the guy from the Da Vinci Code is a rogue.
Nah, he's like a wizard or something. I don't know. Keep building, I guess. That's a weird way to end it.
Stop building. See, I made it worse.
Yeah, I just feel like we gave all those tips, and then I went on that weird little Nick Cage tangent. But anyone who loves Nick Cage will enjoy that.
Which is the most roguish Nicolas Cage? These are our 2 questions. This is your homework. Play a strength-based rogue. Tell us which Nicolas Cage is the roguest. 3, learn how to spell rogue.
Oh yeah, that's
all.
the only real lesson in this in this video. Oh my gosh.
I hope you learned absolutely nothing from this podcast.
How dare you? They should have learned so many.
I hope they learned nothing.
Well, I guess, yeah. Like I said before.
I'm only here to destroy what you build.
No, well, yeah. It's more about entertainment, I think. It's both. I don't know.
It's about tearing everything down. Building my own palace on the ashes.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Grace.
You're welcome.
Good night.